Hello, friends. It's so funny that I still get a little bit jittery even before a live. It's so funny. Maybe it's because of the topic that I'm going to be sharing about today. I recently posted a photo of myself holding a magazine with Jamie Lee Curtis. And in the photo, Jamie Lee Curtis is on the cover of a magazine opening up about her opiate addiction. And it made me so excited. I immediately grabbed the magazine and, flipped through it and read through it, and I realized it was in the 80s, and I still thought it was when she had her addiction, and I still thought it was so cool that People magazine is putting on the cover Jamie Lee Curtis's secret addiction. She's coming out with her story. Freaking men. This is like so exciting to me because this is why I do these videos, and a couple comments on the video were from people asking about my story and had I talked about it and is there somewhere where they could see it. And so I thought, I should probably get on and share my story again. And I have in the past. So if you guys have heard my story, this is like, spoiler alert, I'm just saying it again. Probably in a little bit more detail because I think that as I've gone on in life, I have been able to understand why this addiction happened in the first place. And so I have a little bit more insight to speak about it. But I love speaking about this stuff because it's so freeing to lose the shame around our past. Again, I've said this stuff so many times, but it is so freeing to lose the shame around our past. I had a secret opiate addiction for 12 years, all throughout my 20s. And guess what? In the midst of all of that, I was bulimic. And it's like, do you know how freeing it is to be able to share with you guys what I went through? Because guess what? I just had a conversation with a friend of mine today, and she was telling me about a 10-year-old that she knows that has an eating disorder. This young girl is 10 years old and won't eat because she is scared of getting fat. This is not okay. 10 years old. So this is why I speak up, because this is how I feel like I can use my voice. This is how these issues get solved, when we come together and share enough and we realize that there are 10-year-olds that don't want to eat for fear of looking fat. When we realize that, I have these deeper conversations with people and they tell me that a family member is starting to act differently and they think it's an addiction and no one knows what to do. I've been there. I have been there, and this is why I speak up, because I don't care who you are. I don't care how perfect your life looks on the outside. We are all going through something. And if life is good in the moment, you either have gone through something major and struggled, or you will, or this is life, right? Life is not picture perfect for the rest of our lives. I don't care what positive psychology tells you. This is what life's all about, working through these things. And we have so many people right now that are turning to food and drugs and alcohol and all of these things to not feel what they're meant to be feeling, what they're going through. I get all fired up. Oh my gosh, I'm all fired up. Woo! So this is why I share, because I'm trying to start a revolution that if we all just begin to speak about what we've been through, how freeing that will be. And who knows whose life you can change. When someone sees that you have had the same experience that they are going through right now, and it can free them even a little bit. Maybe you're not, waking someone up out of a eating disorder or something like this, but to know like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. My friend just recommended that book by Brene Brown. I thought I was the only one. You are never the only one. Now that I have moved past so much of this stuff, I am realizing how it is just like part of this human condition, and we all have gone through it on some level. And so thinking back to my addiction, I remember I think it was about in my early 20s when I'm trying to think of how it even began, because I know how it began technically. I got a prescription to Vicodin for migraines, and I realized that this Vicodin helped my anxiety. I don't think I even knew what anxiety was at that moment, but I had it. And I'm thinking back, why did I have the anxiety? I'm sure there were things that were happening in my life. My dad passed away. And though we weren't close, that's still a pretty significant situation to have happened in your life. And I don't remember talking too much about it or really opening up about how I felt about it. You just kind of suppress it because that's just what you do, right? You be strong and you keep going. And so many times we don't think that our feelings are valid. And so we keep them to ourselves. And they end up popping up later as addiction, depression, these types of things, right? I went through a breakup, just big things in my life that happened, and I didn't know how to process my emotions around them because I had never been shown that, because that's not what our society condones. That's not what our society encourages. So to be open, right? We want everybody to stay quiet and look like everything's okay so that we don't have to deal with it, so that we don't have to feel our own emotion around it. So I began taking some extra pills because it helped my anxiety. So then anytime I went out anywhere, social anxiety, I took a pill. Or anytime things were stressful, I just took a pill, just numbed it, right? We just numb it. And it was so easy and it felt so good. And so there I went all through my 20s. Numbing and checking out. And it was so interesting because nobody knew. This was like this big secret thing that nobody really knew. And it's not because I didn't have an amazing family or amazing friends. They were all amazing. They all would have been there for me had they known, but they didn't know. I was really tricky and really good at hiding it, which so many of us are when we have something secret going on. Even if it's something emotional, it doesn't have to be an addiction. It can be something that you're struggling with, some grieving or a relationship or something. But we're so good at hiding our pain because we don't want to impose on others, or we don't want to make them feel bad, or we're super ashamed. I mean, I was so ashamed of this addiction that I had that I didn't even really know how I got into it in the first place. It's sneaky, these things. I've spoken about this on a video in the past. It's like you're going along through life trying to just make it work and get through the days, and next thing you know, you're years into this secret addiction that, how did I even get here? Like, how is this really happening? And it takes speaking up, but speaking up means everyone's going to know. And what are they going to think of me? And I'm too weak. I'm not strong enough to handle this on my own. So again, because our society wants us to be strong and keep it all looking nicely in a perfect package, we keep it in. And so this went on and on for years. I never had to deal with my anxiety, which was awesome, but it was horrible. You feel like you can't ever be your true self because you're always worrying about where the next pill is going to come from, or getting the bottle of wine. I would come home from work every day and have a glass of wine or 2 or 3, and it's like, I guess I didn't really have that many, but that can be something else where we come home and we're like having this wine just to relax. And next thing you know, I've had many friends and people that I know that it's like a bottle's gone and how is this happening? And it just becomes this habit. And when we're not aware of it, it can be something that just takes over us until it's time to wake up out of it. And so where was I on this awesome journey? Years went by, and I think that eventually you realize that this is not sustainable. And I ended up getting really depressed and getting really disconnected from myself, from my life, from everyone around me. And you go into, went into, hiding a little bit. I didn't really want to work. It just really, this depression sort of overcame me. And I started doing even more and going even deeper into it. And I'm so blessed by this because this is obviously what needed to happen in order to wake me up. Like the fact that it was such a blessing that it's like a blessing and a curse. It was so sustainable because no one knew, but it was also a curse because no one freaking knew. And then it makes it last so much longer. And I know this is something that is so true for so many of us out there. Again, whether it's an addiction to, whatever. There's like a number of things that we can be addicted to in this world, right? Even social media. Let's not feel. Let's check out. Let's go to Facebook. Let's scroll. Let's have another bottle. Let's go to happy hour. Let's do whatever we can to check out and not look at what needs to be looked at. And so finally, things went south. Things went rock bottom, as they say. And this was just 4 years ago, actually. And it's in a relationship that was unrecognizable to me as I didn't recognize the person who I was. I didn't recognize this relationship that I was in. I didn't recognize, what was going on around me. And it was definitely rock bottom for me. And I had a breakdown where I ended up losing it and just knowing deep down this wasn't who I really am. What is happening to me? Like, where did I go? How did I get here? What is going on? I think that, again, some of you that have had any experience like this, you get it. You're in a relationship that you think all of a sudden, like, how did I get here? What is happening? And I just let myself cry and just cry and cry and cry and be confused and know deep down, like, something in me was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing with my life? This is not me. This is not who I am. How did I get here? And my story is, I feel so grateful for my story because I had what I call a spiritual awakening. I didn't go to rehab or AA or NA or any of those things. Those weren't part of my path because I had this, like, I guess a breakthrough, a huge breakthrough where I took myself off of all of the toxins naturally and was able to start this journey of understanding who I really am and walking away from all of it. And that's really great and everything, but really the point of this video is to talk about, those of us that are in it or have been in it. AA and NA is not for everyone, and rehab is something that's out of reach for many people. And so I think that I feel like a broken record, but I feel like by us really getting to the point where we can own who we are and where we've been, we will then help to bring light to others who are in that dark place. All it needs is some light shown on it. It just needs to be lit up. And once you light it up, there's no going back, right? So I shined light on this and it all of a sudden lit up completely and was gone from my life that fast. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to many others. Again, mine happened to be this pill addiction or the bulimia or these types of things, but it's possible and it's available. And people would tell me that, it comes from within, the strength comes from within. And I didn't believe it until it actually happened to me, until I was ready to either die or something had to give. Take me now or show me who I really am. And I am so blessed to be shown who I really was. So I speak about these things because we live in a society that is so shaming about so much of this. And there's freedom on the other side of this shame. And the more we can speak up, the more we can be there for others, the more people realize they're not alone. And if I got through it, if you're watching this and you're going through something, you can absolutely get through it. I am healthy, I am happy, I am the person I am today because of what I went through. So, what else do I want to say about this story? I think that there's many of us who are big feelers, who are empaths and intuitives, and not to throw these tricky words in here, but people who feel a lot. And so it's really easy for those of us who feel a lot to feel the need to numb, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever it is. The world really provides that very easily for us. So I know there is this awakening happening right now where people are coming out of these addictions and getting back to who they truly are. And I am just so grateful to be able to stand here and tell my story, and hopefully, like Jamie Lee Curtis on People magazine, share it so others know that they can make it through. That is why we're here. We are here to share these stories. We are here to be real and be honest. I just read Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle, and she goes into the deepest, darkest places in her life and shamelessly talks about them. She talks about families, mothers. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a mom, so I don't know, but I know there's so much shame and guilt that goes on with mothers. And if we can talk about this, how freeing is that to realize you feel this way about your kids, and so does this woman over here, and so does this woman over here. It's like, oh my gosh, it's not just me, thank God. Or breakups, relationships, infidelity, all of these things. We are lacking this human connection where we can just be with each other and help each other through these things and not make it look like everything is perfect, because it's not. Everything is not perfect, and we are making ourselves crazy by trying to pretend that it is. It is time to take off the mask. It is time to show what's really going on and be a stand for one another. At least that's why I'm here. So I am available to anybody. If any of you have questions or are going through something, please message me. I would love to be there for you. No judgment, totally open and available. So thank you guys so much for being here with me. Not sure if we have any comments on here or who's still with me, but I encourage you, tell your stories. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. With all these dark issues, a strong voice helps others realize they aren't alone. When the buzz no longer quenches the pain, we hit bottom. Such a low bottom of desperation for something real. It is so true. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love you guys. Thank you for being on this journey with me, Elise and Gabe and everybody who's on here, Christiana. You guys, it's just like there's so much freedom in doing this and speaking up. So it's amazing. We can do this. It's time to just be available for one another and create that support. Support is all we need. We just need support. And I know that for me, when I was there in my deepest, darkest space, these other options these were not options for me. So maybe if I heard somebody like me speaking to me in this situation, a light would open up, a light bulb would turn on, my mind and my heart might open, even if it's just a little crack, because I know that when you're in that space, life is horrible. It's the worst. But knowing that there's others there is such a blessing. So thank you. Thanks you guys so much. Hi, Mike. I think Mike just jumped on. So I love you guys so much, and I will probably be doing another video about my journey with my eating disorder, because that is huge. Something like 90% of women struggle with body image, and this is just women. I know that this is a thing for men too, and it's huge. So be on the lookout for that, because that is coming. I get all fired up about that too. It's time. We have got to start seeing these things for what they are and changing the story. John says, never had any addiction, but just today learned that I might have ADHD, which explains so much about many struggles I've had. This is so true. This is with mental health. I could do a whole nother video on mental health, addiction, mental health, eating disorders. These things are so important for us to be speaking about and opening up about. It can explain so much and make the lives of others so much easier and our lives easier. Like, John, I feel so blessed that you are learning this information so that you can understand this deeper part of yourself, right? That, oh my gosh, I can look back on my story and realize I thought I was crazy. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought I was the only one. And now, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense, because others have been there and others have spoken up about how they have felt. How beautiful is that? To be able to then learn from them and realize so much. This is where it's at. I'm so happy. I'm happy that you're learning this, John. It's amazing. Yeah, it's so good. Gosh, I feel like, high. It's funny to me that I get so high now just speaking about this beautiful, these amazing topics that need to be spoken about. And like my addiction, like what I was trying to achieve during the addiction is like got nothing on this. High on life, baby. Oh, so many TED Talks about it. Awesome. I see a TED Talk in my future about this. So, yes, I will be doing many more videos about these types of things, because this is where the connection is, when we can be with each other and hold the space and know we're not alone. That's all it comes down to. Knowing we're not alone. Knowing we can have a safe space to talk about it and realize that we can get through it. And we will. And it gets better and better. I love you guys. I will see you soon. Thank you so much for being here with me.